Before you head out, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop a comment below. Tell us what twist you think the story still needs, or why your favorite bit didn't go the way you imagined. We read every single one and can't wait to riff on your ideas in the next episode. Buckingham Palace, 9:47 a.m. The air is thick with tourist chatter, pigeon aggression, and croissant crumbs. Selfie sticks rise like antennas of a modern tribe. A kid screams because someone in a beefeater costume stepped into his frame. Big Ben looms in the background, glitching. No, literally glitching. Its minute hand skips forward, then rewinds like it's buffering in 144p. Suddenly, the wind shifts. A low-pitched zippy rips through the morning like someone just downloaded a horse via LimeWire. A tear in the very vibe of reality opens just outside the palace gates. From the shimmering rainbow vortex, they emerge. The Cyber Trans Amish scooter brigade. No horses, no carriages, no bonnets. These folks cruise on prism chrome electric scooters that hum like a lo-fi spaceship. Their carbon fiber straw hats glint in the sun. LED suspenders blink to a beat only they can hear. Each scooter's rear fender proudly waves a quilt-shaped trans pride emblem, pixel-stitched and animated. The leader? Aunt Mildred, 3000. Age, unknown. Top speed, 45 kilometers per hour, downhill with a tailwind. Weapon, a laser-etched butter churn glowing faintly with solar power and unspoken menace. She raises a churn above her head like it's Thor's hammer, and declares in a Midwestern meets Matrix accent, "Engage silent mode, kinfolk. We ride not for war, but for decorative breadsticks and mild mayhem." Her voice echoes across the courtyard like a church bell tuned by Daft Punk. The scooters hiss to a halt in perfect formation, tires smoking lavender-scented fog. Behind the gates, 2 royal guards stand motionless. Scarlet uniforms, giant bearskin hats, absolute poker faces. But even from this distance, one guard's left eyebrow twitches just slightly, maybe from confusion, maybe from fear. And then it gets weirder. From the vortex emerges the rainbow-wigged ostrich. No one invited it. No one controls it. It simply exists. It waddles confidently, locks eyes with a tourist from Ohio, snatches his GoPro selfie stick with its beak, then sprints off like it owns a monarchy. Applause breaks out. 3 tourists live streaming on Instagram. Someone in the crowd screams. Is this a Netflix promo? Nearby, Buckingham squirrels peek from behind a trash can. They watch, nod once in respect, and vanish into the hedges. They've seen too much. Above, a chrome-finished UFO hovers silently. It looks like a flying teapot, crossed with a disco ball. Its undercarriage displays a scrolling LED message. Free Wi-Fi. 5G intergalactic plan. From a small hatch, a hovering drone descends carrying an old-school camcorder. It projects the words live. Ostrich versus monarchy. Place your bets in midair holographics. Aunt Mildred, 3000, pulls out a rotary phone modified with USB-C port, connects it to her scooter via kaleidoscope color cable, and begins live streaming on 12 platforms simultaneously. One of the royal guards blinks. Twice. Unconfirmed sources report this hasn't happened since Queen Victoria's corgi sneezed on a diplomat. From inside the palace, the royal brass band nervously rehearses God Save the Queen, but ends up playing a distorted remix of Cotton Eye Joe in dubstep. It blasts through hidden courtyard speakers, echoing across the historic lawn with unintentionally perfect bass drops. Boom! If it hadn't been for Cotton Eye Joe, Aunt Mildred, 3000 snaps her fingers, and her crew synchronizes. 12 scooters pull a full 360 drift across the pavement, forming a glowing infinity symbol. Every LED on their outfits switches to party mode. The ostrich, still holding the selfie stick, nods in approval and begins twerking. Yes, twerking. It's oddly majestic. Just when the energy couldn't get more chaotic, a pigeon lands on a guard's head, gently drops a singular skittle, and flies off into sunrise. The guard doesn't move. Protocol is sacred. But deep down, we all saw that slight inhale, that silent panic, that eternal British restraint. And then, like a sitcom cutting to commercial, everything freezes. The music stops. The colors dim. The UFO beams out a final message. Prepare for diplomatic snack exchange. Transmission pending. Roll credits on part 1. This has been Glitch at the Gates. Stay tuned, because in part 2 they offer scones. And nothing will ever be the same. The palace gates stand still, unchanging since the Victorian era. Until now, because now, they're being stared down by 20 Amish warriors on eco-friendly turbo scooters with glitchy rainbow under lighting and custom airbrushed scripture verses scrolling in neon cursive. Thou shalt not lag. Honor thy butter and thy bandwidth. Aunt Mildred. 3,000 surveys the battlefield with the calm of a woman who's churned in 4 dimensions. Form the quilt. Riders. Immediately, the Cyber Trans Amish formation splits like Tetris blocks with GPS. Scooter tires skid just enough to release puffs of lavender-scented smoke. They ride in slow, smooth circles until they've woven a moving geometric pattern across the palace square. A hexagonal trans pride quilt that flickers with particle-based rainbow embroidery. Each time they complete a formation loop, a new pattern appears. A pixelated corgi in sunglasses. A UFO abducting a scone. Queen Elizabeth arm wrestling Elon Musk. From inside the palace walls, the guards resist every instinct to react. Royal Guard Sergeant Granite Chin McTavish narrows his eyes behind mirrored sunglasses. He whispers to himself, This isn't covered in any training manual. This is crochet warfare. The glitch in Big Ben's gears intensifies. The bell tolls, but it's off-tempo. Instead of bong, it plays a soft digital boop, followed by Siri saying, Oops, something went wrong. Please reset the monarchy. Meanwhile, the alien liaison hovers into center court. It's got 3 glowing eye stalks, legs made of ribbon cables, and a voice that sounds like Siri arguing with HAL 9000 during a thunderstorm. It approaches guard number 1 with cautious grace and presents a ceremonial object, a small hand-crocheted USB drive, tied with ethically sourced unicorn yarn. It pulses with 3 items. 1. A glowing peace emoji, crying a single pixelated tear. 2. A .pdf cupcake recipe titled Treaties and Treats. Bake your way to diplomacy. 3. A Spotify playlist, Lo-Fi Hymns to Hack the Patriarchy Volume 3. The Royal Guard does not flinch. But we, the audience, all sense his soul briefly played air guitar. In the distance, Scooter Squad Beta, led by Cousin Ezekiel version 2.1, joins the fray. They're fresh from their training mission outside Stonehenge, where they accidentally summoned a 400-year-old barn owl spirit. Ezekiel yells, Engage double-knit formation. The scooters weave past each other at unthinkable speeds, forming temporary Amish encryption symbols only visible from drone altitude. The Skycam captures it, a woven message that spells, Free the button biscuits. The crowd erupts in applause. No one knows what it means, but it feels important. Suddenly, a pigeon lands on the UFO and is immediately given a tiny reflective vest and a clipboard. The pigeon now appears to be in charge of logistics. The alien liaison gives it a salute. The pigeon nods and poops gently onto the pavement. It is now legend. Meanwhile, Aunt Mildred, 3,000 lift her butter churn once more, this time transmitting a global sound burst frequency. All Wi-Fi-enabled appliances within a mile radius begin playing Don't Stop Believin' on kazoo. Car alarms twerk. A toaster in Soho erupts into flame. Somewhere in Windsor, Prince Charles drops his tea. At the same moment, the Royal Scone Defense Unit, RSDU, mobilizes. Wearing tactical aprons and monocles, they exit the back gate with a polished silver tray holding 6 fruit-lace scones, 3 pots of interdimensional jam, 1 napkin folded into the shape of Margaret Thatcher, riding a llama. Aunt Mildred eyes the tray and smirks. They've made their move. Good. Initiate cinnamon code. The Cyber Amish respond with precision. Scooter tires squeal, releasing a fresh scent of apple pie and victory. Above, the UFO begins lowering a peace banner made entirely from holographic hay. The alien projects a universal icon of harmony. A royal guard in a tiara holding hands with an ostrich and a knitting robot. Guard number 2, overwhelmed by the surreal unity of the moment, exhales audibly. Tourist gasp. The Queen's Guard does not breathe on duty. This is monumental. In celebration, the ostrich returns, now wearing a cape made of Union Jack napkins. It performs a perfect backflip, lands, and moonwalks back into the vortex. Somewhere in the crowd, a child shouts, "This is better than Disneyland." Aunt Mildred, 3,000, turns the crowd, her scooter lights blinking in Morse code. We came for peace. We stayed for the jam. We leave with honor and clotted cream. She gives a final nod to the guards, who, through sheer force of professionalism, still do not smile, but we all know they are change men. Scooter engines purr. The formation reforms. The alien liaison levitates. The glitch in Big Ben fades. And from somewhere deep within the palace walls, a voice mutters, "We're going to need a bigger teapot." Roll credits on part 2. It all started with a scone. But not just a scone. This was the Beyoncé of pastries. Triangular perfection. Slightly arrogant crumble. A texture so divine that even gluten-intolerant pigeons began to question their faith. Sergeant McTavish, a man carved from granite and Queen-approved discipline, squinted behind royal-issue shades. Before him stood the royal silver tray of accord, carried by a footman wearing combat epaulets and oven mitts, because nobody wanted to repeat the Biscuit Treaty incident of 1982. And across from him, Aunt Mildred, 3,000, standing proud atop a carbon-neutral Amısh scooter, her butter churn gleaming with solar polish. She eyes the tray, nostrils flaring at the aroma of baked compromise. The alien liaison hovers silently. Its 3 eye stalks dilate, as if sensing spiritual carbohydrate levels. Present the jam. The royal aide slowly unveils the triple-dimensional jam caddy. Strawberry stardust reduction. Lemon zest wormhole infusion. Dark matter boysenberry, classified. Each jam glows softly, humming in a major key. Aunt Mildred responds in kind, producing from her satchel a relic jar of pre-apocalypse butter churned at dawn by Cousin Martha, the time-folded. She dips the ceremonial spoon, a sport carved from elder oak and old Netflix algorithms, into the butter and spreads on a corner scone with ritualistic flourish. Then she nods. Butter honors the code. The crowd gasps. Big Ben's glitch momentarily resolves itself. A baby in the crowd whispers its first word. Jam. Then, Protocol 88B is triggered. A palace violinist emerges from a trapdoor and begins to play Bach's Concerto in B minor, remixed with bass drops by Skrillex. The alien starts bobbing its head. The ostrich begins waltzing. Somewhere in Yorkshire, 5 retired lords sneeze simultaneously and don't know why. Meanwhile, the Scooter Squadron Alpha opens a hatch under their decks. Out pop micro tea sets, complete with holographic biscuits and foldable antimatter napkins. Deploy the doily shields. Cries Ezekiel version 2.1. In synchronized choreography, each Amish rider flicks their wrist, deploying embroidered shield projectors that form an arc over the entire square. The shields shimmer like lace at a cosmic wedding. At this moment, something stirs beneath the ground. A squirrel, possibly royal, definitely over-caffeinated, bursts forth from a burrow and squeaks an ancient prophecy. Aunt Mildred nods solemnly. The acorn knows. Now, as tension melts into ceremony, a second tray emerges. This one carried by Lady Beatrice of the Biscuit Order, dressed in her ceremonial banana yellow shoulder pads and wielding a spatula wand. On the tray, 1 slice of Quantum Victoria sponge, a single Crown-approved gluten-free flapjack, a DNA-replicated finger sandwich from Queen Victoria's original picnic. Suddenly, clouds part. A celestial light beam shines down on the square. From above descends the Muffin Pope, floating gently on a platform of stale brioche, his robe stitched from breakfast menu coupons and ancient memes. He speaks. The Treaty of Crumb is near. The jam must not curdle. The UFO projects a legal document into midair, signed in emoji, crown, handshake, flying saucer. Aunt Mildred and Guard McTavish step forward. Each takes a jam spoon. Simultaneously, they dip spread, and consume. The crowd erupts. Drones fly overhead, riding in fireworks. The schooning is complete. The alien liaison unhooks its backpack and tosses out commemorative rainbow biscuits. Tourists scream. A pensioner faints in ecstasy. One corgi levitates. Then an unexpected twist. A fourth jam is revealed. The forbidden marmalade. A citrus blend so potent, so zesty, it was banished by Parliament in 1722 for inciting rebellion. Everyone stops. The music halts. Big Ben rotates 270 degrees. Aunt Mildred narrows her eyes. If we taste this, we bind our people for 7 bake cycles. The alien liaison, now wearing oven mitts and fez, offers it reverently. The guard does not hesitate. He scoops. He spreads. He bites. And he smiles. The guard smiles. Time fractures. The pigeons stop mid-flight. Queen Elizabeth's portrait bursts into a hologram, giving a thumbs up. The ostrich lays an egg of pure light. The glitch that plagued reality stutters, then collapses into itself. A loading bar appears above the palace. Reality update complete. Patch notes. Added joy to royal protocol. Aunt Mildred raises her butter churn in salute. Ride true, O Muffin Knights. The Amısh squad begins to retreat through the portal. Their scooters now powered by emotional closure and gluten-free ethanol. Sir Wigglepaw skates alongside them, holding a crumpet like a torch. As the vortex closes, the UFO plays one final tune. Musical note, Don't Stop Believin'. But make it afternoon tea version musical note. Everyone waves, even McTavish, with both eyebrows. A double lift, the rarest gesture of royal respect. And then silence. A single scone crumb floats through the air. It lands on the palace flagpole and crystallizes into a new royal decree. Peace, pastries, and protocol forever. Silence. Not the kind of silence that follows a library sneeze, but the sort that arrives after scones have been sacrificed and royal protocols broken via eyebrow. The UFO, still idling above like a sleepy sentient teapot, begins retracting its muffin parachutes. The Cyber Amish riders form a farewell V formation, each scooter blinking Morse code hearts toward the palace. Their LED suspenders pulse a soft goodbye. Rainbow, but something's off. Big Ben hiccups. Not metaphorically. The entire clock tower momentarily shivers, like it's buffering reality itself. A wave of distortion rolls through the square. Tourists begin to loop in small animations. A man keeps tripping on the same pigeon. A child blows the same bubble 3 times. Sir Wigglepaws rewinds mid-cartwheel and does it again, only better. Oh, says Aunt Mildred, checking her butter churn's diagnostic panel. Reality's got a bad sector. Someone forgot to log off their consciousness. The alien liaison buzzes in alarm. It scans the vortex they opened, now pulsating in disco colors and leaking faint banjo music. Portal integrity, 63%. Quantum barn door is ajar. Aunt Mildred slaps her forehead. Dagnabbit, Jebediah, you left the dimensional barn open again. From within the swirling rainbow portal comes a moo, but not just any moo. A trans-dimensional cow lumbers out, wearing a monocle and chewing celestial cud. On its side, tattooed in binary, reads, I have seen the edge of time. It tastes like oat milk. The crowd gasps. One guard faints, not from fear, but from pure existential lactose intolerance. Behind the cow, more anomalies leak through. A floating barn made entirely of recycled TikToks. A sentient toaster with aggressive opinions about Brexit he's ignored. And finally, the quantum barn door itself. It's an old wooden barn door covered in glowing Amish runes, shimmering with glitch fragments, and is that a QR code? Sir Wigglepaw sniffs it. The door creaks open inward. What lies inside? Nobody knows, except maybe the ostrich. It sprints toward the door wearing a cape made of tea towels and dives through, disappearing in a burst of confetti. We can't leave it open, warns Aunt Mildred. We must close it with a ritual of the last loaf. Ezekiel version 2.1 gasps. But we swore never bake again after the incident on Crumpet Moon. This is bigger than Crumpet Moon. A hush falls. The Amish riders begin to chant. Each unzips a secret compartment from their scooters and removes bread dough. They knead it in rhythm. The ground pulses with yeast energy. The glitch wave pauses, sniffing the carbs. Then a flame, a spontaneous oven forms, conjured by pure sincerity and baking ethics. They place the dough inside, and from the vortex, it watches. The cow nods in approval. The glitch slows. Just then, Big Ben opens. Yes, opens. Like a flower. Or a sentient toaster finally showing emotion. Inside is the British Royal Reality Drive. A spinning orb made of teacups, postage stamps, and disappointment. It spins faster. Time bends. Suddenly, the Queen's portrait speaks. One of you must remain to keep the jam stable. Everyone looks around. A beat. Then, Ezekiel version 2.1 steps forward. I'll do it. For carbs. For peace. For that ostrich I may or may not love. Aunt Mildred embraces him. They share a butter churn high five. The alien liaison bestows upon him the medal of infinite patience. Shaped like a teacup balancing a pigeon, Ezekiel rides into the vortex, holding the freshly baked loaf above his head. The quantum barn door shutters, then closes. The glitch is gone. Big Ben resets. The crowd blinks out of loops. Time resumes. Epilogue of Part 4. Sir Wigglepaws howls triumphantly. The guards resume formation, though now slightly funkier. One hums a tune softly. Bohemian Rhapsody, kazoo style. The Cyber Amish line up, nod one final time to the guards, and ride back into Horizon. Scooters trailing sparkles, their mission complete. As they vanish into a pixelated sunset, a final glitch message appears in the sky. Thank you for participating in Earth 1.0. You've been updated to snack mode. Roll absurdly dramatic music. It begins not with a bang, but with a very polite call from a squirrel in a cravat. Aunt Mildred adjusts her carbon fiber bonnet, surveys the scoon-shaped scorch mark on the palace lawn, and murmurs, "It's over, or it's just beginning in another timeline." The muffin parachute lands. On it, the now legendary note, "Thanks for the tea. Don't forget to tip your guard." Tourists stare blankly, still half stuck between dimensions. A man who was briefly a kettle blinks back to human form. A woman who spoke only fluent marmalade now remembers English, sort of. The Queen's portrait above the gates sighs audibly and mutters, "That's the third glitch this week." Then, from nowhere, a diplomatic crumpet summit is declared. On the lawn, folding chairs appear. A delegation of Cyber Amish elders, led by Aunt Mildred and Ezekiel version 2.1, sit facing the Royal Muffin Council. Yes, it exists. It always has. Chaired by Sir Wigglepaws, who now wears a cape knitted from rejected tea cozies and badge of honor shaped like a lemon-curd blob. Discussions begin with a ceremonial unjamming of spoons. Each party places a teacup on the table. They nod. They sip. They agree. No more weaponized pastries, unless absolutely necessary. Then a squirrel in a powdered wig ratifies the treaty. Meanwhile, Big Ben reboots. It displays not the time, but an emoji. Cupcake. The meaning? Unclear, but everyone feels slightly more civilized. The tourists begin filing out, carefully stepping over biscuit shrapnel and avoiding the glowing puddle of raspberry reality. An announcer from the BBC arrives in a floating bowler hat, and thus concludes a treaty of crumbs, bringing peace between monarchy, glitchkind, and rural quantum collectives. But it's not quite over, because Buckingham Palace's garden gnome security grid is still flickering. One final surge, and then a single row pixel emerges. Shaped like a bagel, it floats ominously. It sings the British national anthem in reverse, and then promptly explodes into confetti shaped like King Charles doing jazz hands. Sir Wigglepaw stands. He lifts his teacup high. Let this day be remembered, not for the chaos, the glitch, the jam, but for the unity we found in a puff pastry. Tears are shed by guards, by tourists, by a nearby sentient umbrella who had been quietly watching all along. Then Just when all seems calm, the final scoon rises from a subterranean vault. It spins. It hovers. It speaks in perfect received pronunciation. Reboot initiated. Reality version, Devonshire 2.0. The ground trembles slightly. The air smells faintly of victory and cinnamon. From the sky descends Her Majesty's Royal Drone Choir. Each one buzzes in harmony. They spell out in LED patterns. All you need is tea. Aunt Mildred, now seated on a jam throne, is offered an honorary title, Keeper of the Quantum Kettle. She accepts. A week later, documentary crews swarm the grounds. Netflix commissions a 10-part series called Downton Glitchy. An official tourism sign is erected. You are now entering a pastry-controlled zone. At the Tower of London, ravens are seen doing synchronized dance routines. It is unclear whether this is glitch residue or a PR stunt. And tucked away, behind the newly rebuilt glitch archive room, a time capsule is buried. Inside, one raisin, Aunt Mildred's original butter churn key. A faded sticky note that simply reads, "Press B for jam." Fade out. Muffin Nebula twinkles. A corgi sneezes in Morse code. Somewhere deep within the Buckingham servers, a firewall whispers, "One day, the glitch may return, and we'll be ready with scones." It begins in silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the loaded silence that precedes a British weather forecast that's just a bit too dramatic. The Treaty of Crumbs is signed. The jam is settled. The tourists are gone. Or so we thought. Because somewhere deep in the digital marrow of the palace's scoon-stained firewalls, a backup muffin has awakened. Let's rewind, slightly, during the chaos of the Crumpet Crisis. Not everything got logged properly in Her Majesty's Glitch Registry. A subroutine, a sentient, unsupervised muffin, was overlooked. Its name? Muffinsworth. #### Scene 1. The Chamber of Forgotten Tea. We open in a dim, porcelain tile chamber. Rows upon rows of unclaimed teacups line the shelves. Forgotten blends bubble quietly in self-heating kettles. Aunt Mildred's embroidered slipper clicks on the floor. She's hunting scone residue for diplomatic artifact preservation. Then a shimmer, a flicker, a plop. From the shadows rolls a muffin with eyes. Mildred gasps, not from fear, but etiquette. By Earl Grey's ghost, it's Muffinsworth. Once exiled from the Royal Pastry Guild for refusing to be eaten at brunch, Muffinsworth now glows with unstable nostalgia. "You left me behind," he rasps in pastry. "I remember the butter days before the glitch, before gluten freedom." Mildred curtsies. "You're not forgotten. You're artisanal." The muffin softens slightly, but it's too late. He's already uploaded himself into the royal Wi-Fi. Lights flicker. Alexa speaks in rhymes. The jam received from toast without being touched. #### Scene 2. Council of the Glazed Elders. Back at the Cyber Amish embassy in a teapot. A cold cinnamon alert is triggered. Sir Wigglepaws, now supreme confectioner of tactical quietness, leads a meeting. He speaks only in slow blinks and occasional meows, but everyone understands. The muffin is loose. Aunt Mildred interrupts, breathless. He seeks the recipe. Gasps all around. The recipe, the mythical, encrypted scroll said to grant the bearer total control over all breakfast protocols. Toast, scones, marmalade placements, even the fate of boiled eggs. If Muffinsworth gets it, breakfast, as we know it, will become brunch tyranny. #### Scene 3. The temporal teapot. The only way to stop Muffinsworth is to find a temporal teapot, a relic, so British it generates time loops using passive aggression. It resides deep beneath the palace, in the chamber of infinite biscuits. McTavish, now part T due to residual glitch energy, guides the team. Asterisk Aunt Mildred. Asterisk Ezekiel version 2.1. Asterisk Sir Wigglepaws. Asterisk a corgi named Nigel who may or may not be the reincarnation of Admiral Nelson. They descend past layers of dusty crumpet fossils and ceremonial napkins. And there it is, the teapot, whistling in reverse. Aunt Mildred pours exactly 4.75 seconds of tea. The room warps. They enter the memory jam. Hashtag scene 4. Inside the memory jam. Here, time is sticky. Ideas spread like honey. Sir Wigglepaws remembers the first Marmite rebellion. Ezekiel sees his grandmother's recipe encoded in star patterns. And Mildred? She faces a mirror made of clotted cream. Inside it, young Mildred at the Royal Pastry Academy. Back before the glitch. Before the tea went quantum. She reaches through the cream. Grabs her old badge. Mildred Thistlethwaite, pastry whisperer. She's whole again. Time unloops. The team exits the jam. Hashtag scene 5. Muffinsworth's lair. They arrive at the palace roof. Muffinsworth, now 10 feet tall and frosted with existential dread, hovers. He's plugged into the palace's speaker system. I have become breakfast, destroyer of menus. Nigel the corgi barks. It echoes like Shakespeare in a hurricane. Aunt Mildred approaches. You weren't left behind. You were proofed, and now it's time to rise. She presents the original muffin tin, passed down from Queen Victoria's third cousin twice baked. The muffin stares. Tears of syrup drip down his wrapper. He softens. He shrinks. He returns to muffinhood. Hashtag scene 6. The Royal Pancake Accord. To prevent future pastry uprisings, a new accord is drafted. The Royal Pancake Accord of 2025. Provisions include asterisk muffin representation in the breakfast cabinet, asterisk mandatory jam therapy for road crumpets, asterisk no more toast to monopoly,